Every morning before sunrise, Lily walked past the small corner cafe, holding 2 cups of coffee, one black, one with a touch of honey. She always stopped at the same park bench by the fountain where an old man, Mr. Harold, sat feeding the pigeons. He was always there, wrapped in his brown coat, even in the biting cold. Most people passed him by without a glance, but not Lily. She had met him by accident months earlier, the day she missed her bus and stopped to rest by the bench. He'd smiled, offered her half of his sandwich, and told her about his late wife who loved that same park. Something about his warmth, the kindness in his wrinkled eyes, made her stay. Since then, it became their quiet ritual. Every morning before heading to her job at the grocery store, Lily brought coffee and breakfast, and together they talked about dreams, lost loves, and everything in between. Mr. Harold had no family, or so Lily thought. He often spoke about how he'd made mistakes in his younger days, chasing wealth over relationships, losing touch with his son, and missing years he could never get back. Lily saw in him the grandfather she never had. And to Harold, Lily became something more than a kind stranger. She became hope. But things changed one gray afternoon. Mr. Harold didn't show up at the park. Lily waited, the pigeons pecking around her shoes, her heart uneasy. The next morning, still no sign. So, she went to the small apartment he'd once described, the one above the bakery near Maple Street. She knocked, but no answer. When she asked the baker below, his face fell. He collapsed 2 nights ago. He's in the hospital, dear. Lily ran all the way there. When she entered the hospital room, he looked frail, pale. The man who once smiled at dawn now lay surrounded by wires and machines. But when he saw her, he smiled. I was afraid I'd missed our coffee. She held his hand and tried not to cry. You scared me, she whispered. He chuckled weakly. You're too kind to an old fool like me. For the next week, she visited him every day after work. She brought his favorite muffins, read him stories, even helped him eat when his hands trembled. Nurses began calling her his granddaughter. And truthfully, that's how she felt. Then one afternoon, as Lily was fluffing his pillow, a tall, well-dressed man entered the room, followed by 2 lawyers. His expression was cold, calculating. So, you're the girl, he said flatly. Lily frowned. I'm just his friend. The man gave a tight smile. I'm his grandson. Ethan Caldwell. Lily turned to Harold, who looked uneasy. You never said you had family, she said softly. Ethan crossed his arms. Well, now that you know, you can stop playing caretaker. We'll handle things from here. Lily was stunned. I'm not playing anything. He's my friend. Ethan turned to his lawyers. We'll make sure no outsiders interfere with family matters. One of the lawyers nodded, handing over papers for Harold to sign. It's just to manage your estate, sir, Ethan said smoothly. You're not well. I'll make sure everything's taken care of. But Lily saw the fear in Harold's eyes. His hand trembled over the pen. Do you trust him? She asked quietly. He didn't answer. Ethan glared at her. Miss, I think it's best you leave. Lily felt her heart break as security escorted her out. She stood outside the hospital, the cool wind biting her cheeks. That night, she cried, not for herself, but for the old man who'd shown her what kindness meant, now trapped by greed disguised as family a days past. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, always wondering if he was okay. Finally, she went back to the hospital, but when she asked about Harold, the nurse said softly, he's been discharged. His grandson moved him to a private facility. That night, Lily sat in the park alone. The pigeons gathered around her feet as she placed his favorite muffin on the bench. I hope you're safe, she whispered. 2 weeks later, she received a letter, no return address, just her name written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a note, my dear Lily, if you're reading this, I might be gone, or just far away. Ethan came back because of my money, not my health. But you gave me something no one else did: time, laughter, and genuine care. I have one last favor to ask. Don't let him win. I've left something for you. Go to the cafe where we met. Tell the owner my name. He'll understand. With love, Harold. Her hands trembled as she ran to the cafe. The owner, an elderly woman, smiled sadly when Lily mentioned Harold's name. He told me you might come. Wait here. She disappeared into the back and returned with a small box and an envelope. Inside the box was Harold's old pocket watch, the one he said belonged to his father. The envelope contained legal papers. Assigned. Will the letter read, "I've changed everything. My money doesn't matter, but I want it to matter to someone who still believes in goodness. You do. Use it well. Live kindly, Lily. You were the family I wished for." Tears blurred her vision. She later learned that Harold had passed away the day after writing that letter. Ethan had tried to claim the inheritance, but Harold had already signed it over legally to Lily. Not for her gain, but with one condition: it was to be used to build a community center for the elderly and underprivileged. Months later, that center stood tall by the same park where they'd first met, the Harold Home of Hope. The plaque read, "In memory of a friendship that changed 2 lives." Every morning, Lily still brought 2 cups of coffee, one black, one with honey, and sat on the bench surrounded by pigeons, and sometimes, when the wind rustled the trees, she swore she could hear his voice whisper, "Thank you, my dear." If you felt this story touch your heart, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes that one act of kindness can change everything, because sometimes, the smallest gestures leave the biggest legacies.